with all due respect.
All right. Well, we're 10 minutes late because we spent 10 minutes jibber jabbing.
We always
And
do.
and this is with all due respect, episode 10. And this is I'm gonna be honest with you, this is an episode that I've been nervous to ask you to do, Erica. Like I'm wanting to like, and I've said it to you, I said it to Gray, I've said I gotta get Erica on, I gotta get Erica on. And then you put your before and picture before and after up. And I just messaged you like you gotta do about it. Like you gotta do it. You gotta do it. You gotta share the world what's going on. And in short, this is the episode with a story of 140-pound weight loss. Is that correct?
I started out at 318 and I'm at 178. So that's right on the dot at 140.
And
Wow.
just to give some background, Erica, aka my mortgage lady, right? When I said my mortgage, I tell people, yeah, I see my mortgage lady. This before and after picture. But we've known each other. I know your mom, dad. I know the story, right?
Yep.
Like you worked out at Athletes Arena. We did stuff like we've been friends. We go back and forth. We good banter all the time. You're a great banter person. You have phenomenal banter. But I wanted to get you on here, and I got 1,000 people I'm going to send this story to. We about when did we talk last? April? Did we talk in
Yeah,
April maybe?
probably April.
In April, March, April, I saw it. You posted 118 or 110 pounds, and I messaged you, and then I just called you, and I'm like, what's going on? Like this is like unbelievable because I know the story and I'm gonna share it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let you talk. I want to tell you where you were, what you did, what you saw. Just I think we're gonna have so many nuggets for everyday people, not just weight loss, but like this is a life journey, right? So just kind of tell us a little bit about your story, what led to the 140, what you did, and we'll just start jibber jabbing from there.
Yes, and interact and chime in if I go down a rabbit hole. But
It's okay.
um, so I'm 42 years old, and I can tell you that probably for my 40 years of life, I have always been overweight. I'm pretty sure that I came out of the womb larger than life, like in all areas. And because of that, I adapted some really, really traumatizing and limiting beliefs about myself. I accepted things to be absolute truths about myself from a very, very early age. And that's important because I do think a lot of people that struggle with any kind of addiction, if they broke it down, they would see that they really are believing some fundamental truths about themselves that are just complete lies. And they've built an entire life and habits around those untruths. And people are like, really? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I was like, I mean, everybody's told me my whole life I'm big boned, and so I'm gonna be big. Like this is what I'm gonna be, and this is who I am, and just what it is. And it's amazing what you tell yourself. That's what you'll believe too. So if that's what you constantly tell yourself, you will develop habits around those things. And I think specifically food becomes really tricky because we need it to live, right? Like you do. You need it to live. And I had tried how many times in my life? I mean, I've tried so many times in my life to lose weight and keep it off that when um, October, November of 22, there were some things that shifted in my life professionally and personally where I was like, I'm so sick and tired of putting work, business, friendship, everything above my health because I felt like that was going to serve me the best. And when all of those things came crashing down, I realized like I've got to change. So the first place that I could start was with myself. So I started, I was like, well, I started writing down things that were unhelpful. They were not serving me, right?
And that's not
And I,
self. Some people are going to hear this. They're going to be like, well, is that selfish? No, it's not.
Not at
It's
all.
not selfish. It's not
no, I mean,
selfish.
I stayed working for in a business at a company for probably 5 years longer than I needed to, because they were like dangling a carrot in front of me. Like, we're going to give you this. And I sacrificed so much because I thought I was going to get this. And then one day I woke up and I was like, I'm never going to get it. And I'm putting these things before my health, before my family, before everything. And I knew, when I say that there was like a light switch, there was a light switch. Like, I started writing down all the things that I wanted in my life. And I started writing down basically who is the person that has those things. And then I started making goals to become that person, because I was not going to be able to reach those things by staying who I was. Right.
Yeah.
And probably the number one thing was my health. I was 318 pounds. Now I'm tall, I'm 5'8", but that still doesn't spread out very far. Right. And it was a problem, like when we would plan trips to go to an amusement park, I had severe anxiety because I knew physically it was going to be daunting. I was going to be just covered in sweat, and there was going to be a good chance that I was not going to fit in rides. Right. So it was limiting my involvement with my family. It was limiting their experience. And so I sat down and the first thing I knew I needed to address was my health and my weight. I needed to figure out how to get that under control. And I wish that there was something really fancy out there. I wish there was something that I could tell you was a magic formula. But honestly, when everybody tells you have to consume less than you burn, that's it.
Podcast is over.
Magic.
Podcast is over, right? We appreciate everybody listening.
And so there are tons of ways to do it, but I realized that I also so in November I had an appointment with my doctor, right? And I said, these are the things I want to do. And he said, well, do you want to try a GIP or a GLP-1 drug? And I was like, I don't really know what that is. And so I started doing research. And so I remember in December, it was very expensive. My insurance wouldn't cover it because I didn't have any pre-existing conditions. And I was like, we'll try it. I had tried so many things, right? We'll try it. This is what was phenomenal about me starting my journey with that, is that we're talking about in an instant, there was no food noise, right?
Wow.
There was no food noise. But the one thing I realized is that I had a serious problem, because one day I woke up and I never thought about food. And I thought, where's the joy in my life? I realized that I based so much joy around what I was eating, right? I would plan my day. Now I do the same thing now, but I do it differently because I'm trying to fuel my body, right?
Yeah.
So I stayed on that for as long as I could afford it. That was number one. And number two, max benefits show, of those medications show that you at best can lose 20% of your body weight. Once you get there, that, it's done its job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what it provided me was an opportunity to get laser focused. I think when people get on those drugs and they continue to eat like a garbage can, they're not going to have success. You're not. You have to use that as a tool to retrain your body and to understand how you're supposed to fuel your body, right? And you are provided an opportunity because you are not going to be thinking about food. You're going to get full really quickly. So you have to take that time to create different habits for yourself. So I started researching protein, right? I told you about this. I was like, it's not attractive. I had huge success on it because I changed the way I was eating almost instantaneously.
How long were you on that medication?
8 months.
Okay. So the first 8 months you did it, and you say it turned off the food noise, right? Explain that.
So you don't crave. I'm not thinking about food. I'm not in the same way. Do you know what I mean? I would wake up in the morning, I'd be like, ooh, sausage and gravy biscuits sound great. That didn't happen. I had to start setting alarms on my phone to remind me to eat. Right. So, but it provided me time to say, protein is what I need the most of. It's going to keep me the fullest, longest. My body's going to work hardest to burn it off. I need to figure out how to get sufficient amount of protein in the smartest way possible. Right. So I started telling you, I was like, I'll have a protein shake with my coffee, but I want 50 grams of protein. Oh, I can get that from egg white. liquid egg whites blended
Hmm.
up and just,
Hmm.
and people are like, and that keeps you full the entire morning. Yep. Like I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's only between that and the egg whites, it's 250 calories, but it's 50 grams of protein.
Yeah.
You will not be hungry. Like
Hmm.
you won't. You know, and so then I was like, oh, I love cottage cheese. And so then I went into a whole rabbit hole of that's a really great source of protein. So then I started getting rid of like anything that was cream based and replacing it with cottage cheese. I would blend it up and throw it in salads and protein bowls. And you have to get laser focused though. So it meant that I think a lot of people were like, oh, I'll get on, you know, Manjaro or Wegovy or Ozempic. And what they do is they don't take it as an opportunity to relearn nutrition at all.
What do you think? So that's such a controversial thing right now,
It is.
right? And I think it's controversial because at 318 pounds, it was a lifesaver for you, right? Or it jump started the process
It was the tool I needed to undo some stuff.
to jumpstart the process. I think what you're seeing now is just like anything, right? There's the possibility that it's abused or overprescribed, right? Is that what you see now when you see people who are like, I need to lose 15 pounds for the beach? Let me get on Manjaro, right?
Yeah, that yes, I would probably say that it's overprescribed. If you need to lose you know probably 30 pounds or less, you don't need to be on a GIP or a GLP-1
Mm-hmm.
drug.
Mm-hmm.
You basically probably need to cut out your bottle of wine at night, really
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Like
Mm-hmm.
I know
Yeah.
you guys are shaking your head, but it really is that
No, it's so
simple.
true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
I can almost look at people and be like, well, you could probably just make this a really small
Fine
incremental
tune.
change and like you would see drastic changes in 30 days. Like
Yeah.
it's one little thing. I also don't see education with people that are given the drug. And so they're given the drug and then they're still eating fast food at a rapid rate. They're just eating considerably less. So they're losing like there's Ozempic face. Have you seen this, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
So there's Ozempic face and they're losing hair. And I was like, that's because they don't have sufficient nutrition. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're, you know, so that's the one criticism I have about these drugs because they're amazing, but you have to take it understanding that one day you're going to have to get off of it. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't change the way that you view nutrition and food, you are going to gain the weight back. Like
Right.
there is no way around it. You can't just eat less McDonald's on this drug and lose weight and be like, oh, look what I did. And then you get off of it, you're going to consume more McDonald's and then you're going to gain the weight back. Like that,
Right.
it's not rocket science. I wish that there was something more magical, but unless you start understanding what foods serve you, what foods can fuel you and what you enjoy to eat within those realms, you're not going to like kind of conquer whatever kind of issues you have with nutrition and food. It's just not going to happen.
So
And that's
good.
I was just gonna say, I mean, that's like the idea behind any kind of medication, right? Like if you are somebody that is dealing with, say, depression, like you might need to get on antidepressants, but you still have to do extra things inside of your own personal journey because you don't want to be on antidepressants for forever. So that's kind of what we talk about all the time, Josh, is like if you're going to go on a medication to lose weight and that's something that you need, you also have to have the education around coming off of the medication or learning about nutrition, learning about strength training, the things that are going to pair well with that medication so that you're not on it forever.
It's true. I mean, I don't lie to people. I tell them, I said, but if I also have had people say, oh, well, I tried Ozempic and it didn't work. And I'm like,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you stop drinking? Did you fix your
well, that's what
nutrition?
I mean.
Yeah, right.
You know, and so I was like, it's supposed to be a tool to help you. Like you still have to do the hard work. And so I think Josh and I talked about this a lot when I talk about, I mean, I love cottage cheese, right? Like I also egg whites, they're an easy fix. Like you can
Right.
add them into so many things to boost your protein. And everybody starts like gagging when I talk about mixing egg whites and things. I was like, you do know that they're flavorless. Like you can't.
Yeah, like you can't taste them.
Like and people can't get over that mentally. And I thought, well, I mean, I don't know if you're gonna, I don't know that you're gonna do this because you've already decided that that's not. But in the same vein, if you don't want to eat egg whites and if you don't want to eat cottage cheese, then you could do like Greek yogurt.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, don't create a diet and a food plan based around things that you don't like to eat.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, right. I've had clients who contact me and be like, well, what's your philosophy on weight loss? And I was like, I really don't, what kind of diet do you follow? I really don't think I really follow diet. And I've had a client be like, I really hate egg whites. Do I have to eat egg whites? I'm like, no, I don't. You don't have to. I'm not going to make you if you hate them because then you're going to do this for a couple of weeks and quit,
that's
right?
it.
But you can find things with protein that you enjoy, right? So you you go down this journey, right? You start making the change, right? You start losing the weight. Um, you're taking medication, but you're changing habits, right? That's the one thing I really want to get across here is
Oh,
it,
it was
it was a
big
habit
time
change.
change. Like
Yeah.
big time change. We're talking about I was walking. First of all, everybody start walking. Do something. Like just don't sit
Hmm.
there. I don't care if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Like you will start to want to do those things if you start doing them. So I work from home. I'm in a predominantly I sit for work.
Hmm.
And so I would start taking 10 to 15-minute walks a couple times a day. I automatically was getting way more physical activity in the day than ever before. So like it was these small, teeny tiny, very doable changes. And then yeah, like I started looking at, I mean, I got rid of coffee creamer. Like it was junk. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it was pure junk. But like those changes took time. It wasn't like I woke up as I started, as you start making changes in your diet and in your food choices, you will down the road cut other things out. Like you
Mhm.
will. Like you
Hmm.
don't have to force it. Like if you start making these incremental changes and you start seeing the overall change in yourself, you will give up Twizzlers. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah. You
will
don't crave
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
no, like
Yeah.
you will naturally just kind of turn away from them. And the interesting thing was is that Josh, I think I told you, I started in December. By the time people actually started like commenting on my appearance, that was last summer. And I think by that time I had lost like 80 pounds. And people be like, have you lost a ton of weight? And I was like, yeah. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and honestly,
Yeah.
I will tell you that it was really, really hard from December to that point because like I felt like I was the only one seeing those changes.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was like affirming those changes in me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Mm-hmm.
like you have to be able to keep going even when you are not getting like like the verbal affirmations from other people. And sometimes it's harder for the people that see you every day also to see those changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they
100%.
constantly, right?
100%. That's why we always push progress pictures because even if other people can't see it, because you're right, even sometimes looking at yourself, you can gain 10 pounds and you're like, I didn't even realize that I gained 10 pounds because I see myself every day.
Yeah.
That's why those progress pictures are always so important because you just see yourself shrink over time. Yeah.
It's true though. Like, do you know how long and consistent of that was a lot of work to do, like to
Yeah.
have nothing to show, like,
6 months.
and
Yeah. That's a long
and then
time.
yes, and then all of a sudden it was like bam, 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 bam. Like it was
Yeah.
like the last half, it was super, super obvious. But the really cool thing that happened is that like I remember finally that summer, like last summer, my husband's like, I think I need to lose some weight. So then he started changing, right? Like so
Yeah.
it I need people to understand that it wasn't that my husband was unwilling. I think that it was one of those things like I was going to have to make those changes for myself despite what everybody in my family was doing in order to show them that I was truly committed to a different way of life
Yeah.
because they had heard me say 4,282 times over my 40 years that I was getting right, I'm gonna change my life, I'm gonna do it this time, I'm gonna, do you see what I'm saying? Like, and so it wasn't that they weren't like, we support you, but you want to hear the crazy, when I say this, and I hope people listening hear this, because right when I got to the point where I had lost about 80 pounds, I had some people say, well, are you gonna keep losing some more? Like, aren't you concerned about that, like, loose skin? It's so gross. Like, you're gonna have loose skin. And I was like, I would rather have loose skin than diabetes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and so that's the other thing, is that I'm going to tell you, most people in the public that are in your periphery equate health to your physical appearance. And so they are going to tell you everything negative about losing a certain amount of weight, especially a substantial amount of weight. There's no way that you can lose 50, 60, 70, 80 pounds and your body looks ripped. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're getting that. I mean, that takes time. Your skin has to, like, bounce back. You got to work. You know what I mean? Like, that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a deterrent for you getting healthy. Like,
And
at the end of the day,
it almost sounds funny to say it out loud, doesn't it? When someone's like, ooh, don't get any more healthy because your skin. You're like,
yeah, but we talk about this too. It's insecurity in other people. Like, I have to remind people all the time, if somebody is making a personal dig at you for doing something healthy, that's because they don't want to do it. They're getting insecure being around you being healthy. And you got to wipe it off. Just let it roll off your back, because you're the one that's making a decision for yourself.
So the other thing, once my husband started, our household radically changed, right? So when I say our household radically changed, it was like, I didn't have to worry about my husband coming home and being like, let's just DoorDash food, right? Like, because we have grilled out chicken, there's vegetables, there's salad in here, right? Because, like, he was on the path. So then it was easier to tell the kids, like, this is what's for dinner, this is what we're having. So, like, it changed everything, right? Like, it changed everything. And so could it have been easier? Sure. But I think, and I mean this as nicely as possible, like, if you really want to get healthy, you're going to have to get a little tough. Like, you're going to have to be okay with saying no. And sometimes reaching your goals means that you're going to have to learn how to release everything in your life that doesn't serve you and your goals. And sometimes that means the people that you thought were closest to you and were going to support you through anything. And sometimes that's hard. And Josh and I have talked about this, because there are going to be times where I'm in an industry, I'm a mortgage loan originator, and it's a heavily drinking, partying industry, right? And so I'm on this journey, and I'd go on these trips, and they all would kind of dub me Sober Sally. And it wasn't because I had a problem with alcohol. It was just like, I'm not drinking 3,000 calories in alcohol in 4 hours. Like, do you know how long it takes your body to burn off alcohol? 11 hours.
Yeah.
11 hours. And you're consuming it when you're getting ready to go to sleep. Like, that is not going to serve my goals ultimately. Like, it's not. And the amount of pressure that I got from people to drink, knowing that with them knowing what I wanted to do health and fitness wise, was really frustrating to me. It was really frustrating to me. And so you're going to have to get a little tough. And so you're going to have to get a little tough, and you're going to have to kind of upset some people, and you might not get invited to things. Like, you're going to have to be okay letting go of that stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be okay with sometimes not being the fun person, like, you'll be okay. Like, at the end, those people are not the most important thing. Like, it should be what your goals are, what life you want, who you want to be, what you want to achieve. And people that really, really understand you and support you are going to understand that regardless.
100%. Retweet everything you just said. But that's, like, exactly what I was saying. When people do push you to do things that you're not interested in doing in that time, like, it's an insecurity in that they would love to be able to stop drinking and be fun without drinking, but they can't do it personally. But like in the reverse, when you do have somebody that cares about you, like I just had a client call me about this last week. She went on a girls trip and she was like, "Hey, on Saturday is my only day that I'm going to have a little bit more to drink, but the other days I'm not." Her girlfriend called her after that trip and was like, "I would really like to go on this journey with you. And I've been kind of waiting for somebody else to go on this journey with me." So the people that do care about you are going to recognize that. And you might have just started a snowball effect for your friends.
It's true. I mean, oh, I can't tell you. It was hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like
Mm-hmm.
there were times that were really, 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 really hard. Like it's really hard. It doesn't mean that you're never going to have a drink of alcohol again. That's
Right.
not what this means.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you're never going to eat a piece of pizza again. It just means that you will be able to understand what serves you, what serves your goals, and be able to make really clear-minded decisions about that. But that journey takes a long time. It takes a long time. So if you just need to get started today, oh my goodness. The first thing that I would do is write down. Like you have to, like, please, for the love of all that is pure and holy, like please write down what you want in life. Like you have to be able to identify what it is and not live up here. Like you have to be able to identify, why do you want to get healthy? Why do you want to lose weight? Why, like, what is the reason behind it? Is it because you want to be around longer for your family and your loved ones? Is it because you don't feel good about yourself? You're tired, you're lethargic, you are uncomfortable, you can't find clothes that you want to wear, you don't like the way you look. Like you have got to identify what the motivators are for you making decisions. And then you have to remind yourself of those things every time you're faced with a tough decision. And you're going to have to just do the same thing every day, over and over and over again. Like, and don't do it all in one day. Just the first day, it's going to be like, I'm going to identify what my goals are. The second day is I'm going to identify high protein food that I enjoy to eat. The third day, you're going to like, and then you just start doing those things little by little. I think everybody wants immediate results, and so they think they have to overhaul immediately, and that's why nothing sticks, is because it's not like this genuine, like, evolving into a better person. Like you want a quick fix, and so nothing really is becoming a permanent change in who you are. But
Yeah.
I also had to identify time suckers. Oh my gosh. Like I think also people overeat because they're not eating nutrient dense food, and so they're consuming more of that food to feel full, and it isn't doing the trick, right? Like when you look at certain things. So that's why I tell people, if you don't like seafood, don't eat seafood. Like
Yeah.
don't make a plan. Like if you don't like, but come up with something. And it's like I'm the type of person, I eat the same thing for breakfast and lunch for like 30 or 45 or 60 days, like because I'm in my zone,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? Like, and I'm getting my, there are some people that can't do that. They've got to have variety and they've got to change it up. Like you need to be able to identify that about yourself so that you can have people help set you up for success, and knowing that you're like that, right? Like
Right.
it's all these teeny tiny little things. And then once you start walking, you'll start feeling better. Like it's so crazy when you've got 100+ pounds to lose. I promise, if you get 10 pounds off, like your diaphragm will thank you. Like everything will
Well,
start
yeah.
to like kind of like move a little bit easier, and you will start sleeping better, and you'll start having some confidence. And nobody may be able to recognize that, but like your ring should feel a little different with 10 pounds. Like your watch, like things should start, you should be able to start to identify the positive changes to be able to keep you going.
Have you pulled
Right.
out your clothes from like a year and a half ago just to look at them, or did you like cut them and
I
burn
mean,
them?
no. So I put them all on Poshmark and I sold them, but I have like a few left.
Mhm.
And we joke because I always say like I have 10 things I can wear at any time because I'm still like, even when you're not losing weight, like when you start working out, like your body still is change, like it changes forms. Like when you start, do you, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Body
no,
recomp.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, your body is just like really changing rapidly. Like even if you don't lift weights, which I don't know why anybody wouldn't, but even if you don't lift weights and you just do body weight movements, if you start doing like squats and lunges, like your body is going to change shapes. Like it moves around, like stuff moves. And so I would say I have 10 things that probably look decent at me at a time because your body's it's changing very rapidly. If I showed you, it would just be bananas. Like it's huge. I mean, it's like this big in comparison to, or you will have a little body dysmorphia. Like, when I'm looking online at stuff, I'm like, oh, like I think a large. And my husband's like, a large? I'd be like, yeah, like a large. He's like, there's no way that you are a size large. And I was like, I don't know. Like, because you still, like, you can't
You
wrap
think
your
like
head
that.
around, like, those types of things. So
Yeah.
you're always kind of,
I did that for a long time.
right? Like, where you're
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Like, I think there's also trauma from thinking that you were smaller. Like, the opposite side is when you're severely overweight, you think you're smaller than you really are. Just,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That
you know
makes
what I'm saying?
sense.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the brain, right? The brain. Yeah, I have a client whose goal, he's like 6'4", 6'3", 6'4", like 295, is an offensive lineman growing up.
Yeah.
And I hate that people watch me like play like a pickup basketball game and they go, man, he can really move for a big guy. Right. And like that, people don't know that like that little, and he's heard it since he was 13. So he's always been that big guy that can move. And what he did, and you touched on it earlier, he identified himself as just the big guy. And like we had a conversation last week and he deflects with humor. I'll call him out on something and he'll send something funny back because he's an extremist. He will he'll go extreme on a diet and a workout plan for like 2 weeks, lose 10 pounds, and then he realizes he can't do it. And then he just falls apart and smashes pizza, right? Like, and he's like, I'm like, well, what's your plan this week? He's like, 27 workouts, 500 calories a day. I said, hey, buddy, when you're ready to get serious, like he's joking, but he's deflecting with humor. And I said, hey, when you're ready and serious, like hit me back. Like, I
Yeah.
know you're just right. And he's like, I'm the big guy that can move. And when you've been told that, and you meant touching on it earlier, when you've been told that, it's like the kid in the second grade that gets told, like, oh, you're a problem in class. Well, now guess what you become? You become the class clown.
Problem.
You
Yeah.
become the problem in class. It's part of your identity. You what and you touched on it. To lose that much weight, Erica, you have to redefine who you are.
Oh, yeah. Like yes. And I'm not mentally the same person I was either. Like,
Right.
because I'm able to look at things and be like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And it's not because I don't want to have fun. Like, I'm not
No,
that
no. You're a fun,
you also,
Erica. You're a fun, for crying out loud. Like you're a fun. Like you can banter with the best of the world. Like you can, yeah, you can
Well, you
banter.
start to
Yeah,
you start to
yeah.
find fun in things that are not destructive, like because I feel the same way. Like I gained a lot of weight in college and it was because I was being destructive. And I came out of it and I still have my weekends that are a little bit destructive and I have a great time, but I have so much more fun now doing things that are positive and that build me versus constantly destroying me every weekend where I wake up on Monday and I'm like, I feel at my lowest low. That sucks.
Mm,
You get to a place where you don't want that anymore.
mm,
I also, when you're talking about your client that's like, yeah, he's always been called the big guy that can move, he has to decide that that's not who he is. Like,
Mhm.
ultimately, like, um, you know, I, when I tell you that the minute I got on Manjaro and all that food noise went away, I realized that I had a really, really unhealthy relationship with food. because I felt like my joy had been taken from me, right? And that's a
Mm.
really, really hard thing to face,
Mm-hmm.
is that I had equated like joy and happiness to what I was eating, right? And some of that comes to like some of that comes from food being given as an award or a reward for doing, you know, what people think. And sometimes that happens at a young age, like with
Mhm.
parties where there's like cake or candy. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and so, and some of that just was really, really hard for me to deal with. And I think until people deal with whatever emotional relationship they have to food, right? Food and health,
Mhm.
their vision of like their understanding and their beliefs of who they really are, it's going to take a long time to be able to conquer this, right? To feel
Right.
like you're in a new space. But I just woke up and I was like, I am not a victim. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's almost like it was easier for me to be like, well, I mean, I'm big bone and I have bad genes, so like I'm just
Yeah.
I'm gonna be big. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and
that's just
Yeah.
I
who I
think
am. That's just how God made me. It's just what
it's
it
just
Yeah.
it's
is.
just who it is. And honestly, like none of that was true. Like I based an entire life and identity and choices and habits off of that lie. It's just a lie. Like
Yeah.
so when he and sometimes you know like people call them all sorts of stuff like tower moments. Like when you have this moment in your life that like you're like I am not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to handle this, and you start overhauling everything. Um, I don't know. I recognize now that there's nothing that I can't do or have or be. It's we choose. I can have whatever life I want. I can be whatever I want. I can we all have that power in us. We just decide what we want to believe or not, right? And then we
Yeah.
base an entire life
But
and
this all started
habit
with a
and
choice.
patterns. It was a choice.
This all started with an aha. When I was telling somebody we are doing this, I said, "Well, what'd she do?" I said, "Well, I think the first thing she did was she woke up one day and didn't you throw everything away in your fridge?
Oh, I was just like, I'm done. Like just
You
everything's
woke up
done.
one day and we're like, it's out. We're gone. Like
It's
we're
done.
not doing this
Yeah.
anymore. But you woke up one day and you're like, I'm tired of it. And
Hmm.
you mentioned you used the word addiction,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like that's with anybody that's an addict and they change. They wake up one day and they go, I'm at rock bottom. I'm 318 pounds. Like if I think it's not like I can't see 320. Like I'm 318, 320's 2 mornings away, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
literally. And like if I don't go in the other direction, right? It's this or I'm facing that. You have kids, right? You have kids.
Yeah.
That's got to be a big part. Like, what are my kids watching, right? It took 6 months for. I always love it, man. Us men, we're so stubborn, right? Aren't we? We're just the most stubborn creature in the history of the world. It took 6 months for him to be like, I think I want to eat better next year,
Yeah.
right? Right. When in actuality, it should take us like a month, right? But we're men. Like we'll
Can
ride
do it
an
for myself.
we'll ride an opinion. We'll ride the false opinion until our legs fall off, right? Um, you mentioned protein, water. I got this in a text from you.
Water, water, water.
Protein, water, walk.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I just stacked the days. I stacked the days. I stacked the days. I'm gonna be very transparent. Like I didn't want to have a conversation about what went into this prior because I wanted to come in with a clear mind, right? And the 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 Monjero type drugs are so, I mean, they're all over the place, right?
Yeah, you can get
There's
them anywhere.
there's good, there's bad, there's people that bash it, there's people that don't like it. I always people ask me who they're for. I said, hey, this isn't for the Forest Acres mom that needs to lose 15 pounds to go to the Bahamas. That's what's
Correct.
giving it a bad rap. I said, but in my opinion, and I'm not a doctor, if this is a life-saving thing, it can be, but there's a huge but. And this is why I didn't want to know how you did it because I want to hear the raw answer because I want to have my views. I want to hear someone's story so I can understand it. Um, do you use that as a way to jumpstart fitness, exercise, how to eat better, how to exercise? Like you did all of the habit change that has to go along with it for it to be successful. because you've now not used it for 8 months, and it is expensive, right? We don't like it's pricey, right? You're like right, like you lost it for 8 months. Let me ask you this: when you stopped after 8 months, and now it's been another what, almost a year without it, right? Almost a year,
October, November,
10 months. 10 months.
9 months.
Okay, it's been 9 months without it. Were you nervous about stopping?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were you like, what if I just gained all the weight? What if I didn't learn anything? Like, what if I just go
Yeah, I
back?
want to know the after. Like what was
So,
different?
you get your appetite back,
Okay.
right? So like it's a hormone replacement drug. So it's replacing hormones that have to do with satiation, right?
Mhm.
Like so, you have to learn how to, and that's why I tell people, I'm like, protein will keep you full. It will keep you full. It will keep you from making really crappy food decisions. And everybody thinks I'm lying, but I'm like, you've got to have, and people think a lot of proteins like 15 grams of protein. I'm like, no, like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
we gotta, if your goal is 155 pounds, we got to find a way to get 155 grams of protein in you a day, like
Yeah.
period.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're only going to eat 3 times, we got to stack that meal real quick. Do you know what I mean? Like it's, and I think people, I don't mean you need to eat 7 steaks in a day. What I mean is like because we have to look at the whole. That's what I'm talking about. It's like relearning nutrition. Like
Right.
you're completely relearning nutrition. It's a good thing because I've been able to say, I've been able to recognize I was never a sweet person. I didn't want the ice cream and the chocolate. You know what I wanted? I wanted the entire Sun Chip bag. You know what I mean? Like I would look at that and be like, oh, that was 18 servings. Like I ate that in like 25 minutes, right? So like, because it had no nutritional value, it wasn't meant to keep you full, right? Like so.
No, I tell people I can eat 15 Eggo waffles right now. At
Yeah.
any moment in the day, you throw 15 Eggo waffles and give me $50 to eat it. I said, that's down. I'm not
Same with
full.
Oreos.
I'm
Yeah.
not full, right? I don't feel good, right?
Yeah.
It's crap, right? So
Yeah.
like, I also realized I had to figure out how to make meals for my family that I could adapt to, right? So like, we're making spaghetti tonight. So I'll make squash and zucchini and I'll eat that instead of pasta, like instead of the noodles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, what? And I was like, you have to find ways to like adapt. And they're like, I have flavorless protein powder that on my plate, I'm going to pack on the protein into that. Like you have to get your protein in and just stir it. Right. Like, and people are like, does that taste good? And I'm like, I put a little cottage cheese that I've blended up in it and it becomes kind of creamy. You don't taste it. Like, but I'm also now eating for a different purpose. If you can, and what is most frustrating is if anybody is listening to this, I accepted so much less for myself for so long that it is really, really hard to go back and look at those pictures that I posted of myself. Like I accepted so much less for myself because I thought and I believed that's all I was worth. And so I want to, especially I want to tell people like, I don't believe that you can do it because I did it. I believe that you can do it because you're worth doing it for. Like that's the thing, is that when people hear these things, I don't want you to be inspired to do it because I did it. I want you to be inspired to do it because you're worth doing it for. Like everything it's worth doing it for. I think sometimes did you get teary-eyed?
I know, I'm like a little bit like,
I knew I could see him crying.
Gray's like, I know it is. Like, I'm the cry.
But it's true.
We went and watched what's the movie with all the emotions?
Oh, Inside Out too.
Inside Out. I went to see Inside Out too, and my kid's like, Daddy, you're gonna cry. I'm like, doggone it, dude, shut up. Like, yeah, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like when puberty hit, I'm like, ugh. I got an 8-year-old next to me. I'm like, you just wait, buddy. I'm like, right? But
But that's a mindset change you had
yeah.
too. Like
I have a good friend who's recovering alcoholic, and she says the hardest things are when her Facebook memories pop up with her friends and they're all celebrating and she's smashed. I mean, this is like a real alcohol, a real alcoholic, right? Not just like I drink a little too much, right? Like a real alcoholic. She's like, yeah, my Facebook memories will pop up and those things will show. And she's like, my friends will even because a lot of her friends don't know. They're like, they'll share it or like screenshot it and send it to me. I'm like, I was an alcoholic. You know, that's tough. Like when you look back and go and like the picture you put up, did you have to go search for that picture? Did you go look for like, I'm going to find a picture at 318 pounds?
So honestly, it was right around my birthday. My birthday was June 13th. And so like your social media will be like memories from 2 years ago. And it kind of like put it all, it put it all into perspective. And when
They
I
punched
saw
you in
that
the face with it.
picture,
Yeah.
but it is hard because I could have been happier so much sooner. Like I chose that for myself. And it's heartbreaking. So when I talk to people, and I know that I have done something that very few people will do in their lifetime. And so when I talk to people, I don't know you can do it because I did it. I know you can do it because you're worth doing it for. Like if no one has told you that, you don't need an inspiration story. Like you're worthy enough to do it for. Like you have value. Like you are not all the things that you believe you are. You're so much better than that. You're so much more than what the scale says. Like you can do that, because I know people that are listening to this that you're going to send this to, and they're like, oh, well, that was just her story. No, like I am all of you. Like I promise you, like you can do it. It's really, and I can't believe I delayed for so long. Like those are, like I tell people, even if you're listening to this and it's 3:25 in the afternoon and you're like, I'm going to start tomorrow. Don't start tomorrow. Start right now.
Start now.
Like you don't
Yeah.
have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't, if you eat an Oreo, you didn't blow the rest of your day. Like you can go back and eat something beneficial to your body. It's the next time you're hungry. Like don't break these destructive patterns of excuses to not get you to where you want to go. Like you're allowed to have celebratory things. We want you to enjoy life. But the problem is that for some reason in our culture, in our society, we have no balance. And so, people say, well, I mean, you already had a drink. I mean, you might as well have 15 more. No, like if you have a drink, you don't need to have another. Go back to drinking water. And if you don't like the pressure, soda water with a lime in it will really, really throw them off. Like you can fake it.
Mocktails are great now. They're so great.
Yeah, you don't have to tell anybody. Like you
Yeah.
don't have to tell anybody, but I keep telling it, people will hear me and they'll be like, well, tomorrow. And I'm like, you don't need to wait till tomorrow. Like you're worthy of right now. Like you can make a different choice right now, like right now. And I want to encourage you in that, because you're going to have to make a different and difficult choice 10 minutes from now. Because one thing that we never talk about is how emotional food and eating is. I used to always say, I'm feeling this way, but I can't really rely on that, because if I ate a piece of pizza, I'd probably feel differently. Do you know what I mean? Like if I ate something, I'd probably feel differently. Like and so we need to get into the habit of making really good choices for right now. Like don't worry about 10 minutes from now. I need you to make the good choice right now, so that it's easier to make the good choice 15 minutes from now.
Yeah.
So it's easier 40 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Like
I tell a lot of people the first time is the hardest one, right? The first time you go out with your friends and everybody's getting hammered and or everybody's buying all the pizza and you get the salad. The first time is the hardest, right? The first time is the hardest. But now, like, how is it different for you now at 140-pound weight loss than it was then? Like, and I know it is different, but like you have friends over, you go somewhere with friends. Do enough of them know the journey now that they know she's probably going to get a salad?
Yeah. Or they know enough now that a lot of times I'm going to eat before we go out so that I'm not hungry. Right. So like sometimes the best thing is to remove the temptation.
Yeah.
And people laugh when I say that, but at the end of the day, like I don't owe anybody anything. Like I don't owe anybody anything. Like And you are going to have to get to that point. Like if you all are relying on me to justify your bad decisions, I'm removing myself from that equation.
Right. Right.
You
And
know
the
what I mean?
best
Like
part,
that's just the way
yeah.
it is.
The best part is too, is that you start reassociating those good feelings with the better decisions that you're making. So like before, when that pizza brought you joy, or that glass of wine brought you joy at the end of the day, you've now reassociated it over time with like, my walk was amazing. My workout was amazing. My 8 hours of sleep is the best thing I could have done for myself. That salad was the best thing that I've ever had. That over time, your goals and your mindset starts to change because of the things that you're doing for yourself. So I know like those destructive habits don't have as much room in my life.
Mm.
Or you just figure out how to make pizza with ground chicken. You can get 20
Yeah.
grams of
We
protein.
did that
and
recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So like I tell people, I'm so grateful, like, because some of the things that social media has provided is people that can show you how to still enjoy the activity of those
Yeah.
things
Mhm.
without the junk. Like, but it's
I tell people,
wonderful.
I tell people one of the things you did is, you found a bunch of different ways to make desserts that tasted good that weren't gross for you.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
it.
best.
Because you told me, like, I just learned how to make desserts for fun for my kids. My kids aren't deprived. They just learn that we make fun ways to make treats that don't involve chocolate syrup and chocolate and all the ice cream. Like, we just found fun ways, right?
I mean, I listen. For you guys listening, you're gonna think that I'm obsessed with cottage cheese. I am.
Yeah.
I was like, I am, because you can make ice cream out of cottage cheese that is like to die for. Like
wonderful.
like it,
Mhm.
and what I'm telling you is that it meets all my requirements. Protein, protein, protein,
Yeah.
protein, protein. But
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
put a little bit of honey and some strawberries
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
it. It's the
Yeah.
sweet
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
tell
You're
I'm telling you, you got to find your thing that allows you to still enjoy eating. But I promise you, something will switch inside of you, and it takes a while. Okay. So I need you to push through. Like
Push
yeah,
through.
I need you to
yeah.
push through to get to the aha moment, because you'll wake up one day and you won't miss those things, and your body will not crave them anymore.
Yeah.
Like you will be able to be okay with egg white wraps for your tacos. You know what I mean? Like you'll be perfectly okay with it, and that you don't have sour cream, and that you'll be perfectly okay, that you feel fulfilled, and you feel like you have a full life, and you feel like it's fine. And you know, the one thing I had to tell myself, and maybe those listening to this can relate to this, when I'm faced with things and I think there's going to be a temptation with an unhealthy food habit, I literally have to tell myself over and over again, it's just food. Like
You're not deprived. You can have it whenever you want.
It's just food.
Yeah. And I'm glad you keep circling back to this lightning bulb that went off, or light bulb that went off, and this aha moment. Cause I try to tell people that too. One day it's all going to click. That doesn't mean wait for the day. You can't sit on the sidelines and just wait for that day to happen. But one day you're going to wake up and it's going to feel entirely different. And if you keep trying for that day, I feel like it's going to come a lot sooner than you think. But it's so true that lightning bolt or that light bulb is going to click one day and you're just like, I don't need any of this. I don't want any of this. I don't like any of this anymore. And all of a sudden, all of your habits have changed. And you're on the right.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I promise you, I know we're getting ready to run out of time. I tell people, I can walk away from anything. Do you know what I mean? Like if it is not serving me now, watch me. Like, and I know that terrifies everybody, but I said, if it's a relationship, if it's a job, if it's a client, if it's a partner, like if it is not serving me, watch me. Like
your worth.
I think you will be able to like shape shift your life. Like you will be able to identify exactly all the things that you have settled for so much less than what you're worth. And I will help and encourage you and answer any of your questions.
I know. That's what like,
because I'm just a normal person. I'm just a normal person.
And like, I have my own biases around here. Here's what I tell people too. I said, So my story is my food. I was a food punisher. I was a self punisher, right? I've never been overweight. I mean, I was a thick little kid, but like I was never in my life. I don't. So hard to go. It's like when you talk to somebody who's an addict, they're like, well, they're weak because they drink or they did a drug. Okay, well, you don't understand, right? You don't know because you've never been there, right? You don't know. You don't. That's ignorant, right? You've never been overweight. I don't know what I can have empathy for it because I know people who have the relationships that I love and care about. I know you. I know your story. I have empathy for it. I can't relate to it, but I can have empathy because I know what it's like to struggle. I was a food punisher, right? When I ate something bad, I punished myself the next day by restricting and over exercising and punishing. And then if I ate something bad, I felt bad about myself, my self-worth. I was weak. You're weak. Look how weak you are. You eat crappy food. And look how weak you are. Like, that's weak, right? Like that little devil on my shoulder. And my story is that it wasn't until I started tracking food, I realized, like, I can have a pizza. There's 300 calories, you idiot. Like, it's not, you didn't put poison in your body. You just didn't chug gasoline, you retard. Like, I mean, you're an idiot, right? And I started expanding my food. I started having better. I didn't put like punishing around food. I didn't put punishment around exercise. And I started to change and become happier. I became free. I didn't live in this food prison anymore.
Oh, food
And
prison.
it changed me, right? And not a lot of people can relate to that. Um, I wanted to share your story because, one, I know you. I know it's amazing. I know it can impact people, but I want to understand better. I want to understand more. I want to be able to sit back and when you hear somebody on social media say, um, weight loss drugs are for the weak. Well, let me show you a story. Let me share you a story with somebody who did it to turn off the food noise, but pay attention to all the other things she did. Don't just think about that. Don't just be like, hey, weight loss drugs are the answer for me for the rest of my life. I'm just gonna stay on weight loss drugs. No. One, she made a choice. She changed. Two, she started exercising, started eating right. She started getting her mentally right. It's all those other things, right? Right? It's all those other things. So before somebody starts jumping on that, let me share a story with you about somebody who had a mindset change, who then used it to turn up. I love the word food. Did you hear that somewhere else? Or did you make
No,
that
it's
up?
food noise.
Food noise. Doggone it. That's like I wish I would have caught up with that. But it turned up because when you said food noise, it clicked with me. I went, oh, all of a sudden everything wasn't based around food. You didn't wake up going like, hmm, I can make a big, huge bacon and eggs and waffle, right? And turn off the food noise. Then, when that could jumpstart you, you realize, all right, I'm going to take all the things that Josh told me 10 years ago, or whoever, like thousands of people. I'm going to eat protein. I'm going to exercise. Um, the best thing I've heard has nothing to do with weight loss drugs, has nothing to do with protein, has nothing to do with exercise. The best thing I've heard in this whole time is I made a change because I built self value. I created self value in myself, and you wrote it down, right? You wrote it down, right?
Mhm.
That's another one that's so important. Dude, there's so many things about this podcast. I'm just like, holy cow! Like,
I know, I can't wait to share
I
it.
don't know what to say really because there's so much. But like, creating self value in the fact that you are worth it. First of all, you're loved. You have kids. Your kids love you. Husband loves you, right? You know, I know your mom. We're kind of
Oh yeah,
you
they
know what I'm
love me.
saying? Yeah, you're loved, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I want to have that love for me.
Mhm.
So you made the change. You made habit change. It's stuck and stayed, right? Now you've changed your identity, and you're right. Some people are going to watch this and be like, 140 pounds. I can never do that. No, but you can do 10.
That's all I need you to do.
10.
I just need you to do 10.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
we can and I think that was the, when you asked me, were you scared? I'm not scared anymore because I'm not the same person that I
Mm,
was. And I honestly, when I tell you to write out who you want to be, or it's really, what do you want out of life? Write out your goals. I don't care if it's a $700,000 house or a
yeah.
whatever,
Mm.
whatever you want
New
out of
pair of
life.
Nikes.
Whatever, yes, whatever you want out of life, I want you to get really, really specific. And then I want you to identify who you think the person is that has those things. Then I need you to figure out what is the difference between them and you. And once you start making changes to become a person that has those things, you will get those things, whether it's health and fitness, whether it's career goals, whether it's, I'm telling you, people laugh. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, people that have financial freedom, they're not sleeping till 10 a.m. They're up at 4:45. Do you know what I mean? Like people that know what they want out of life, life isn't happening to them.
There's a quote. Like, there's a quote I just read, and it's by somebody smart. And I got in the habit a long time ago during COVID where I read a bunch of like philosophy books. Started getting weird. I think everybody got a little weird during COVID. Like it started getting weird.
100%.
Yeah, and I read all these philosophy books, and I just went kind of crazy. Where like, who am I? Like, who is the self? Yeah, I just went right. And it said, a lot of people are out there willing to change the world, but they're not willing to change themselves. And it's like when you talk about leadership. Well, if you want to be a leader, you better start with self-improvement, right? And if you want to lose 140 pounds and become so better, you better change who you are. Like you better be that person. Like find that person, describe that person you want to be, and what's the difference between you and them, and what does that person do, right? What do successful people do, and what do they do every day, and what do they do repeatedly, even when it's really boring, right? Like somebody's gonna watch this podcast and be like, I was hoping she'd come up with some kind of cool cabbage soup diet she did for 16 months, and all I got to do is do that and do Pilates for every day for a year and a half. No, she exercised, she ate protein, she drank water,
Well, yep.
She, and what I love the most about this is it took your husband 6 months. I'm going to go back to that. Like us men, we're something else, aren't we? Aren't we? Aren't we?
Oh,
after
okay.
6 months, he's like, oh, guess
this is working.
Because she's serious, right? Listen, I was scared to put you on this mostly because like I was like, I gotta put her on. I gotta put her on. Finally, that you saw that, I'm like, I'm gonna put it on. And the only reason I was scared is it's such a big story, and it's such a, I don't know how. I didn't once I didn't want you to be like, I don't want to do that. Like, ooh, and then you're like done, and I'm like, ooh, good. Like I don't like I was a little nervous to ask you because I'd be like, I don't want to share that. Like I'm not ready.
It's
I'm not
vulnerable.
ready to, right?
Yeah.
It's I didn't want to put you in a place that you go no, and that or felt pressured. Like, and you're like done. I'm like, ooh, I feel better about asking, right? I am more than, I've learned a lot today. I 100% have. My attitude has changed on some things, 100%. I am retardedly proud of you. I think it's awesome. Like I just you're not even the same. I mean, you're the same. Like your banter's the same, right? Like who you are. Like the funny things you say is this. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you're the same. But like, and I don't mean that patronizing. I mean that in the way that like that is life, and not just life change. It's generational changing, right? Like when you look at like the chances of being overweight if you're a child who grows up in an overweight home, right? Well, guess what? You just change that in your kids, right?
Yeah.
Your kids are going to grow up and be like, I know how to do hard things because I saw my mom do hard things.
And now their kids learn
and
that.
now I can do hard things too because I witnessed it. Now their life is going to be changed. There's no way, and I know, humans can be mean, right? There are some people that probably be like, well, Erica's on that diet again. I've heard this before. Like you probably heard that and be
oh gosh, yes.
Guess Erica's on that diet again, right?
I also didn't realize how much less of a person I was treated by people because of how much I weighed. And sometimes that's a hard thing to come to terms with. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
No,
that was
I get it.
Yep.
Like I don't think people considered me a person. You know what I mean? They did, but they had certain ideas about me. Like I don't know that Erica can really do my mortgage because she can't even manage her own health.
People don't. And I'm gonna dote on you. I'm gonna talk high about you. Okay, you're very successful at what you do. Like you're successful at what you do. Like you're very successful at what you do, and you're good at what you do. right? Like I remember when I did my mortgage here, when we financed or whenever, like, you must be a list person because you always sent me lists.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, Josh. I need this. Call me when you're done. And
Yep.
I'm like, and I work that way. Like something about me works well when women give me lists. I don't know if I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. So
Good.
my mom was like that. My mom's like, here. And I'm like, robot. Right. But you're right. They treated you less different. Right. I bet now when people see you and they haven't seen you in a while, or the people that did treat you different, I bet there's a way, the little sparkle into your eye where you're like giving them the little bit of the middle finger, maybe
A
a
little bit.
little bit of the middle finger. It's okay.
Mhm.
Like,
Always.
it's a little bit of the middle finger. I mean, and you could do it. I know you well enough. It might be a literal middle finger, like for some of
Oh,
them, right? But I'm happy to share this story with a lot of people. Um, I'm not. There's a little bit of FOMO in this too. I want to be the first one to start sharing. Like I want to be like, I don't get around. Someone's gonna get around. I'm like, it's gonna be like, there's a little bit of that. I'm gonna admit, like that side of
really?
it.
I don't.
Yeah, Erica, listen. Oh, don't listen. There are people all over the place watching your story who do what we do that want you on their show. You should be on a TV show. I'm not kidding. Like you should do you should be on a TV show. Like you should like, and you didn't really document this journey, did you? You,
No,
you
because you know what?
should have called me. Should have called me day
It
one.
it's true. You know what's so funny? I really do like there are certain things that I wish I did differently.
Mhm.
And even when people ask me, like they'll ask me for health advice and I tell them I'm not qualified to give you advice because like basically all I did was just I
You can
just
share your story, but here's what I
yeah,
did.
like I can tell you what I did and I
Mhm.
you know and I say but um what I can help you with is understanding who you are and like what you're worthy of. And once you start believing that, you'll make the choices for yourself. Like I
And you can
can
be a
help you
cheerleader,
identify
right? Like
that.
you could be a
Yeah.
cheerleader. If your friend came to you in the same situation you'd probably be like, hey, I believe in you. I don't care what
Yeah.
other people say. I'm with you.
Like
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
do whatever you want me to do. Like if
Yeah.
you like it's kind of like I tell my husband all the time and I mean this sincerely. Like my dead body is your dead body. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's ride
Like
or die. It's right.
you know
We're
what I
ride
mean?
or die, right?
Do you see what I'm saying? Like you're yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
really feel that way about people. And you know, if you
Yeah.
can get people around you that believe that, but that's why I tell people I'm like, I can help you identify where things went wrong and why what lie you started believing and how you started to form choices around them. And if we can undo that, then Josh and Gray can show you how like what to eat and how to cook it and what things to make and what exercises to do. But
Yeah.
it's a two part it's a two
No,
part process.
this is not
Yeah.
as easy as just, just start eating better. Oh no,
Yeah.
it's
Right.
a lot. Like that's not simple
Not
stuff. Yeah.
people that have deep rooted things, but I promise you if you and that's why I tell everybody they're not going to do it until they're ready and
Hmm.
they're going to have to um they're going to have to do some big time self work. Like where did the
And that's
train fall off
painful
the
though,
track?
right? That's painful. Like anytime you go through trauma, I had a
It's
therapist.
trauma.
I had a therapist. Okay. I always tell people that I'm one of the first guys that'll tell you what's the first thing he does. I went to therapy. It was awesome. Um, my therapist said anytime you're dealing with trauma, the hardest part about dealing with trauma is sometimes you gotta go backwards and walk through it again.
Hmm.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, you're not really helping me give you money right now. Like that doesn't, like my first session was like, yeah, you're probably gonna have to go through that trauma again. I'm like, well, you're
Cool.
horrible. You're horrible at sales. Like you're a horrible sales
You're
rep. Like you're a horrible sales guy. How many people make it to session 2 after telling them that, But like, no, like you're gonna have to back up in life and walk through all that again,
Find the root.
go
Hmm.
through it differently, rewire your brain, become somebody different. And you know what? Like that's hard to ask somebody to say, hey, guess what? To change your weight and to change your body and to lose 140 pounds and to change your food habits, you got to start with how you believe. And that means there's probably some trauma with what you think about yourself. And guess
yes.
what? You get to back up and go through all that again. But when you get on the back end of that, right?
Mhm.
There's a glorious moment of getting on the back end of that where you're like, I'm not that person anymore because wow, like you said, why didn't I do this when I was 30?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like I was self-destructive through my 30s.
Yeah.
I wish
Right.
somebody would have been like, hey, at 30, go make the change. And you're like, at 30, you don't see 40,
You
right?
don't. But
No.
there is, walking back through the trauma is different because you can grieve it. You can
Mm,
grieve it
And
differently.
put it
You can
behind you.
yes.
And grieve it and put it
And
behind you.
that's
yeah.
it. And there's no blame with it either. I feel like sometimes when you revisit trauma, you could say, but I'm not a little girl anymore, right?
No,
I'm
no.
like, I get to make my own choices and I'm in
Yeah.
control of my own destiny.
I'm
When
not
that happened
12.
to
I'm
me,
not 12. I'm not 12. I'm
that's
42.
correct. That's right. And so
Yeah.
like I'm in control. And so
Yeah.
I can grieve how that impacted and how I couldn't process and I couldn't stand up for myself and I couldn't make different choices because I was a child, but I'm not a child anymore. It's no one
Amen,
else's.
girl.
Yeah.
Amen.
There you
You just, well, this ain't about weight loss. This is so much more.
It
Right.
always is, Josh, but it takes a long time to get there. Like, and I hope that it makes you a better coach for people. Do you know what I mean?
Without a
Like,
doubt. No, I've learned a
like,
lot here. I've learned a lot because I'll be honest with you, I struggled with the black and white issues, and we of weight loss drugs with Monjari. I've struggled with the black and white issues, and I've always said people like, hey, the problem isn't the drug. The problem is sometimes it's the prescriber gives it to the person that needs to lose 15 pounds. I said that's on the prescriber a little bit, prescribing it to the woman who needs to lose 15 pounds, right? That's
And doesn't provide
and
education
doesn't
around
provide
it.
education around it, and doesn't
Yeah.
provide the stuff like the diet and the mindset and what it's going to take and how to exercise. Give people the educate. And we live in a fallen world. Like not everything's going to be perfect. I wanted this to be on there because now that you've shared, this is the perfect. You didn't just take a drug. You changed your life. You changed your mindset. You haven't been on it for the whole time. You changed your diet. Now your life's changed. It jumpstarted you. Food noise. Hashtag food noise.
hashtag food noise.
Hashtag food noise. Erica Hill West. I'll credit you every time I use that and tag you, and we'll make food noise famous.
No, because I want people to get the tools that they need to be able to change their life. But I need you to be willing to make radical changes so that you can do it when you are ready, like so that you can continue on with progress when you don't need that anymore. And honestly, sometimes it'll happen when you've lost 40 or 50 pounds. You're like, I got it now.
Yeah,
I have the
I got
tools
it.
I need and I can keep going.
Yeah, I don't need that anymore. And now I've traded the habits because you're right. You can't stay on a weight loss drug forever, right? Like if you break your leg and you're on a pain pill, you definitely can't stay on the pain pill forever, right? But it has its tool to intervene, but you have to change your life. You have to change your lifestyle. You have to change your mental. If you had to put a percentage on this out of 100, what percentage of this was mental for you?
100.
100%. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
If anything in life that you want to do, like I keep telling everybody, it doesn't matter if it's God, the universe, source, whatever you believe in, they all agree on this one thing, that your mind is incredibly powerful. Okay? They all agree on that, right? Because if you're a Christian, scripture says, on that which you think you become, right? Like, and I said all of them agree that the source of who you are starts with what you believe about yourself, right? It's what you tell yourself. It's your mind life. And so if you can break down what it is that you've been telling yourself for 20, 30, 40 years that's untrue, you can stop telling yourself that. And then I'm
going to Venmo you $150 instead of my check. I'm going to Venmo you 150 right now. I'm going to be like, you don't have to, you got to take it, right? Hey, listen.
I keep telling everybody, you can do it. It's just it takes a little bit of work.
I love you for coming on and sharing your story.
Anytime.
I'll let you know when this launches. I appreciate you coming on. We're going to let everybody go. I hope people watch this. I hope everybody watches it, and I hope Food Noise becomes famous.
Hashtag food noise.
That's it.
With all due respect.